Now, the City of Johannesburg is planning to splurge on protection of political bigwigs, including the executive mayor, Kabelo Gwamanda. In addition to the bodyguards, the politicians will reportedly receive 40 cars from the fleet of the Joburg Metropolitan Police Department. Now, City of Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda, of course, was meant to be joining us in studio. But Thapelo, you are in. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to SABC News, the late edition. It's emerged that the mayor, Kabelo Gwamanda, has now been afforded a surprisingly massive security detail. If I have to read, 10 bodyguards, several luxury vehicles, JMPD, given that this is a luxury which no premier, minister, not even an MEC has been afforded. How does that get justified? How would he justify that?
Thank you so much. Let us first understand the city or the municipality, it's highly regulated as a statutory body. And then secondly, let us also be cautious of throwing things around. In essence, remember, these people who are alleged to be bodyguards, they have families. And if things like this, they are perpetuated, or false narratives are perpetuated on media spaces, and some of their family members, they come across this information, you can imagine the trauma and what's going to happen to those families. However, let me also start by saying, as I said, this has been there. There is a precedence, and this issue at the bodyguards and protectors has started in 2016. During the stewardship of the DA, when they were leading the City of Johannesburg and using the rented face of the former mayor, Herman Mashaba. So what has then happened in the previous council, we then said, let us look into this policy, and because there has been an attack on one of the councillors, which is the chief whip, let us interrogate what the policy says. And we found this policy itself, it was flawed, and the manner of which it was done by their administration, it was incorrect, because they promulgated the policy through the chiefs, and which is not an independent statutory body. So we brought it back to council, and we said, we want council to ratify or rectify this policy. And with the recommendation, let us take it to SABC, which is an independent state organ, SABC, to do risk analysis and then threat analysis. And
okay. Let me before we talk about that, we will expand quite broadly about risk analysis and threat analysis. Yeah. Let's just go back a little bit here. You speak about the sensitivity that should be considered around the 10 bodyguards, that they have families and that they're people with lives, right?
Correct.
Are you confirming that the mayor does indeed have 10 bodyguards and the luxury fleet of vehicles, and being accompanied by the Johannesburg Metro Police Department?
So let us not confuse responsibilities. Yeah. These security personnel which are assigned to the executive mayor, they are not coming now because it's Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda and he's special. So what I'm saying inherently is that Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda has inherited these people, few individuals, and there was never an addition to the people who were taken from the previous administration of Herman Mashaba, because they're the ones who went to media and said the mayor is doing this, as if the mayor is flouting the policies of the city. The mayor hasn't done any irregular thing. In essence, what I'm saying, the irregularity which was done, it was done by the very same people who are now today using this as a political expedition. So in essence, what I'm saying, I'm not confirming anything, but I am saying whatever that was promulgated in 2016 by Herman Mashaba and the DA itself, it is what the mayor is using today. And there's only 2 vehicles that the mayor is using, which is the main car and the car that is called a backup.
Okay, so the fleet. What about the JMPD officials? That those are they're being roped in to travel with the mayor as well as the bodyguards.
They are not roped in to travel with the mayor and the bodyguard. There aren't any parallel process in what we are saying. But what we are saying is that the HR there isn't any implications in terms of, financial implications in terms of the HR policies. What we are saying is the very same security personnel are taken from the JMPD itself. The very same, if they are 10, or if they are 5, or if they are 2 or 3, they are taken from the pool of the JMPD, which doesn't even have financial implication. And it doesn't have any policy implication. It is the people who are in a uniform, and it is said, come and assist here. So Rona, what we did with this policy, we are saying, however, the policy, the manner of which is promulgated, it is flawed. So let us fix it so that it do not come back and bite us. It doesn't come back and haunt us. So they spotted an opportunity and said, let us run with this because we don't have anything that we can campaign Kayone.
Yeah.
And remember
I'll tell
the
you
DA
why I
would...
mentioned the JMPD part of it, because there's concerns that JMP officers are now not attending to the needs of residents, and they're now right behind politicians as opposed to being on time when they're called by the very residents who need them.
Look, in essence, I don't want to dwell much into the issue of service delivery, because what is happening right now through this, it doesn't even hamper service delivery. When we talk about service delivery and we talk about the security personnel, or we talk about officers, bylaw enforcement, we have the national bylaw enforcement traffic officers, we have provincial bylaw enforcement traffic officers, we have the CTJMPD, and over and above that we have SABC itself, which is South African Police Services, and over and above that we have a South African National Defence Force. So we are saying we are capacitated. However, the very same residents that need service delivery, they need this few councillors, which is the executive, the mayor, and the tracker, which is the speaker and the executive that does service delivery, the speaker and the chief whip. We are saying, remember recently the chief whip got shot.
Yes.
You understand? So this also emanates from there to say the councillors are threatened, and the speaker or the mayor can't go to visit the residents if his life is also threatened. Remember, they also are a part of the very same service delivery people, because they are affected. If there's a pothole there, the mayor is inherently affected. So this service delivery that we are making reference to, it also affects the officials or the councillors. And it's not a blanket approach when I'm saying the councillors. It doesn't mean 270 councillors are going to get protection. But we are saying the executive and the tracker, they're the ones that, if there's a risk and a threat analysis, they need to at least get...
Is there a risk and a threat analysis? I mean, you're basing it here on the Whip of Council's Thembiso Zungu, who was shot and killed, of course. But can you confirm and bring evidence to the table that there is indeed a risk that the mayor of Johannesburg, Kabelo Gwamanda's life is at risk, and as a result, a risk assessment has been conducted?
Let us not isolate Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda.
No, but we're talking about him now because
we are talking about the policy.
There's 10 bodyguards, which you say is a norm, right? You say it's a norm. It's nothing. It's nothing. Yeah. It's not a big deal because
that's not what I'm saying.
had 10 bodyguards.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
What I'm saying is, it is a policy that was wrongfully promulgated. So we are taking the policy and we are rectifying it. You understand? So the SABC, the council resolution says we must take it to SABC. I'm talking about the previous council that we just came from. We must take it to SABC. SABC will then come back and say, we want to do the risk analysis. And then emanating from the findings of SABC, it will then be promulgated again into council, because what we are doing, we are rectifying. I'm not talking about.
I understand.
I'm not talking about the nitty-gritties. Remember, what I'm saying here is to clarify. Yeah, it is to clarify to the residents, so that we do not misconstrue the narrative and confuse the voters out there or the people who need to get services. But what we are saying is that the opposition is misleading the public by saying the mayor has 10 bodyguards and we only focus on the 10 bodyguards. But what we are saying is that there is council resolution, right? What is so special? Why should we single out one individual, which is the country?
10 is a big deal, because the city right now is facing a crisis, and paying 10 bodyguards while there's a water crisis in the city and service delivery. I mean, taps are running dry, there's the electricity matter, and in fact, the mayor had denied that there was a water crisis up until he announced his plan, but initially not calling it a crisis. I mean, that in itself is at stake. Elections around the corner. Joburg residents are disgruntled. They don't want a massive amount of money going into security detail without a risk assessment which shows that the mayor's life is under threat, and he does need to have this string of bodyguards with him. You know, do you get what I'm trying to get to?
Look, these people are already employed by the city. We are not taking people from nowhere who are not employed by the city. They are in a payroll, whether the mayor is there or not. If the mayor leaves tomorrow, these people remains in the payroll, and there isn't any additional costs, right? But in essence, the country, not only the city, the country wanted fresh minds, fresh ideas, young leadership. What we need to do is to rally behind the leadership of the city and say, at least there is something that is commendable that the city is giving now. And talking about service delivery that you're making reference to, the mayor, I think a week or two ago, he has just launched 2 substations into his mixed energy model. One substation in Flareoff, it's a generator substation to bail out or to curb load shedding. The other one, it is in Emarasteni in Alexandra, which is the solar panel system, so that when there is load shedding, the water is not disrupted. When there is load shedding, at least some other cities, some other areas in the city will remain lit. And over and above that, there is a rollout of a solar high mast where we used to call them Apollo lights. So when there is a load shedding, at least the city and those areas will remain lit outside. So there is much that we can single out. There is much that we can point out to say this mayor is working. What we need to do is to rally behind him and say, oh, by the way, today it's his birthday.
Okay, wish him a happy birthday.
I'd like to send shout-outs, and wish him well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for coming in. We're going to have to leave it there. Thapelo Amad, of course, speaking to us about some of the surprisingly massive security detail aspects of these revelations, and of course some of the work being done by the mayor of Johannesburg insofar as the water crisis is concerned. But we will continue to bring you more news. Stay with us.